So this last weekend, Friday and Saturday, I went to Chicago with my brother's family. And my brother, this past summer, has been teaching sailing classes. So he's a professor during the ordinary part of the year, but in the summer he doesn't have anything else to do, generally speaking. He doesn't have a job that he's working on. And so he has started teaching sailing, which is a really unique thing, right, to do. I mean, who knows anybody that teaches how to sail? But he goes up to Chicago, and there's a company that rents out sailboats to instructors, and he teaches different people how to sail. So we joined him on Friday and Saturday. At the end of his day, about 3 o'clock, we would go to the harbor together, and we would get on the sailboat, and we would go out into Lake Michigan and sail around. And I've sailed before because we have a sailboat up in Muncie's Reservoir, Prairie Creek Reservoir, but it's nothing like Lake Michigan, right? Lake Michigan is like sailing on the ocean because there are real, very heavy waves. And of course, the boat that we were using is nothing like the sailboat that we have at Prairie Creek Reservoir. It's a much bigger and nicer boat, a much stronger boat, able to handle the waves and the rough seas in the water. Well, as I was reflecting on the gospel for this weekend, thinking about St. Peter's experience and the disciples' experience of being on the boat on the Sea of Galilee. The Sea of Galilee is not a very big lake. It's only about 8 feet in diameter, but it can have very treacherous weather, and the waves can get really overwhelming. And the first century boats that were built at that time could easily be overrun, and you could have the boat capsize and the people on the boat die. So it must have been a very frightening experience for the apostles to be on a boat, many waves, and they're worried, are they going to make it? And suddenly they see Jesus walking on the water. And for Peter to have the courage to ask Jesus to get out of the boat and to get into the water and to walk on the water would have been an incredible amount of fortitude and strength for him to be willing to do this. Reflecting on these images of boats, Deacon Tim and I went with pilgrims to Italy last year, and while we were in Italy, we went to Turin. And in Turin, they have a massive basilica to St. John Bosco. St. John Bosco was committed to education of youth, especially young boys, and he started a number of different orphanages that were dedicated to the service of these children. But he's also famous as a saint for his dreams that he would have. And in one of the dreams that he had, he dreamed that there was a boat. And on this boat, all around, there were rough waves, and there were other people who were attacking the boat. And at the bow of the boat, the front of the boat, was standing the Pope. And then between the boat, or on either side of the boat, there were 2 pillars. On one pillar was Mary, and on the other pillar was the Eucharist. And those 2 pillars were stabilizing the rough seas in that boat. And when we went to, I had heard that dream before, because I've read different things from St. John Bosco, but when we went to the basilica, I saw a painting of that image on the lintel of a door, and I thought, oh, I remember this image, this story, this dream of St. John Bosco. It's so beautiful to see that picture finally depicted. Anyway, when we reflect on the readings for today, how do we find peace in the chaos of the world? The prophet Elijah had made his way to Mount Horeb on a journey. Mount Horeb is Mount Sinai. It's the same thing. It's where Moses receives the law. Well, what we don't hear about in our reading today is what happened before that. Elijah had performed an incredible miracle on Mount Carmel and finally demonstrated the power of God over the power of the Canaanite god Baal. And after he had done this miracle had been performed by God, He kills all of the prophets of Baal, 500 of them down by the river. He takes them down and he slits their throat himself. That's pretty impressive. Pretty crazy, right? To think about a prophet doing such a thing. Well, you can imagine that the king's wife, Jezebel, was very upset about this. And she said, "May I be cursed if I don't kill that prophet Elijah before the sun sets." So he was running, he was fleeing, and he was really upset that he felt like he had been ostracized by God. And so God brings him back, so to speak, to Mount Sinai, to Mount Horeb. And it's there that God revealed himself in the burning bush to Moses and in the law. And it's in this very place where God reveals something unique and special about himself to the prophet Elijah. He's not in the chaos of the world. He's not in the power of the world. God is found in the silence. God is found in the stillness and in the quiet. So where do we find that stillness and quiet in our own life to experience God? There's no better place for us, in my opinion, on earth than in Eucharistic Adoration. Obviously, when we come to Mass, we get to experience Jesus in a most unique way by receiving him. But when we go and pray in an adoration chapel, we have the opportunity to be in the presence of God, just as the prophet Elijah was in the presence of God. Just as St. Peter got to be in the presence of Jesus on the lake of Gennesaret. Well, it's an opportunity for us to enter into the peace that Jesus wants for each of us. And it reminds me of that image of sailing in the chaos of the world, but finding peace between the two pillars of Jesus and Mary. So today, as we continue our celebration of this Mass, we all are aware of the chaos in our own lives, to be sure, the troubles and challenges that we face. But may we seek and find a peace and consolation in our relationship with the Eucharistic Jesus.